Hello, everyone. How's it going? Hope you all having a good Friday. So today I'm doing things a little bit differently. I decided that I would broadcast this live stream across to YouTube as well, not just inside of our internal serveracademy.com website. So I'm going to be a little bit like I have to read two comment sections. So if I don't get to your question right away, then just hang out. I will do my best. If you're on the Server Academy platform, I know who you are. If I don't get to your question, I will follow up with you after the live stream. If you're on YouTube, you could, I guess, either email me directly at paul@serveracademy.com or support@serveracademy.com. You can also hop on our forums. If you go to serveracademy.com, there's a community link. If you go there, you can register and post your question there. Or you can post your email and I'll try and catch it in the comment and get back to you that way. That's probably not the best idea. But I'm just reading. Yeah, so we got a lot of people joining on YouTube. So that's pretty cool. A lot of requests for group policy. And I don't know if we'll have time to get through that because I have about 15 points I want to cover in Active Directory. I have an old video on Active Directory, but I wanted to update it because I thought it's just kind of dated. So the reason why I'm doing this stream is like someone just pointed out in the live stream in the YouTube chat, is that you guys, not everybody here is employed and they're trying to get hands-on experience, right? And so when someone starts a job in the IT field and maybe they don't have all the hands-on experience they need, it's hard for them to get the job. But once they get the job, they're working with me, I can take them to a server, I can sit them down and I can show them how to install Active Directory, how to manage Active Directory, how to do things in group policy, right? And so they get up to speed pretty quickly. Well, if you aren't able to get the job, you never get that chance to get the experience. So you're kind of stuck in this vicious cycle of not having IT experience, so you don't have a job, and not having a job, so you can't get IT experience. So the whole reason I started serveracademy.com is to get be able to provide that types of experience. That's why we have labs and things like that. So that's my goal, is to give you guys as much hands-on experience as you guys want or as you guys can get. So I'm going to switch over here to my desktop capture. And I realize that YouTube is showing a black screen right now. I'm going to try and fix that. Let me see. Turn that off, turn it back on, see if that works. There we go. Okay, so can everybody see my screen on both platforms? I'm going to just double check real quick. Let me know if you guys can see it. Okay, cool. So this is my website, Server Academy. These are all the course modules that you get access to. But what we're interested in is going over to the lab section. And for those of you who have access, whether you're on the free trial or whether you're a paid member, we're going to search for Active Directory. And we're going to launch this Active Directory Users and Computers Lab. And this is going to open in a new page, and it's going to give us, okay, cool, so everyone can see. It's going to give us access to an Active Directory server and a Windows 10 workstation within your web browser. So this is great for those of you who cannot run the VMs on your local computer because either you don't have time to set them up, your computer's not fast enough, or maybe you don't have the time to go through and put everything together, or you just don't want to for whatever reason. But you can just run it directly in your web browser. So I'm going to paste that link. I'm going to copy this link and paste it in the members chat. If you don't have an account at Server Academy, you can start a free trial. I think, and it's free for 7 days. I will put that link if any of you guys want to do that and get access to the lab. Otherwise, you guys can download VirtualBox, and I will show that really quick. But if you, really quick, just let me copy and paste this. I'm going to paste this link. That's the link to start up for the free trial if you want access to the IT labs. If you don't want access to the IT labs, then go to google.com. And you can set up your own by downloading VirtualBox. I wasn't really planning on doing this, but you can go to VirtualBox and click download. So when you download VirtualBox, you'll be able to install and run virtual machines on your computer, on your host computer. So you can install Windows Server, install Windows 10 VM. You can join and make your own little virtual network. And I have a video of that, how to do that on my channel. But we're going to be using these online IT labs. So this will be coming up. I'm going to go ahead and read just through some of these comments. Everyone can hear me okay? And everyone can, I know that you guys can see my screen, but just want to make sure everyone can hear me on both platforms. All right. Okay, someone said it's blurry. It should be 1080p. And yes, the live stream will be saved. I'll be saving it and giving you guys a replay. Okay, cool. Yeah, so Zuber's saying that's exactly what his manager did. He had 0 experience. Yeah, and that's awesome if you can get a job. A lot of people are unable to get a job if they don't have experience. So they get stuck in this loop. And that's what we're going to try and avoid. And it's unnecessary. Maybe 10 or 15 years ago, you couldn't get experience on your own. But now, like I just showed you, there's companies like Server Academy, what I run, and there's just VirtualBox, which you can download for free. And you can download the free version of Windows Server, install it, and get the experience that you need. All right, so it's booting up this server here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this side over here. For those of you who aren't familiar with the labs, or maybe you're getting access to them for the first time, on the right-hand side, we have the virtual machines in our environment listed. We have the username and password for each, and then we have kind of the DVD drive, so we can switch between ISOs if we want. So this is the Windows 10 VM, and then this is the domain controller, which is SADC01. So I'm going to hit Control-Delete. And I'm going to go ahead and get logged into this server. So if I click on the password there, it'll type it in for me, and I can just hit the arrow. I'll go ahead and log in. Well, no, I can just stay out of that one for now. Then I'm going to drag this to the side. Someone's asking what's the main difference between Azure and Active Directory, or Azure Active Directory and Active Directory. Azure Active Directory is in the cloud, so you don't have to install the operating system or manage the replication or anything in the backend. That's all handled for you. When you install Active Directory on your local server, like what I have set up here, you're responsible for maintaining the integrity of the Active Directory database, patching the server, and things like that. So I can't have Active Directory unless I have this local server here, which is SADC01 up and running. So if this server goes down, my entire Active Directory goes down. When you use Azure Active Directory, it's hosted by Azure's cloud, and you don't have to worry about keeping the server online, keeping it patched, or anything like that. So that's one of the main differences. Okay, so let me go ahead and change the resolution of this VM. So I'm going to right click, go to display settings just to make it a little bit better for you guys. I know someone mentioned it was blurry, so it's going to be worse if it's not a higher resolution. So I'm going to go 1600 by 900. Hit OK. And here's Server Manager. So I had someone who's a little bit confused. I think it's Corey Wiggins. I see you online in the Server Academy members. You were a little bit confused about when you would use Server Manager to actually do anything with your domain. Server Manager is just a console that you're going to be using on Windows Server to manage your server, assuming you have the desktop experience installed. So if you have Server Core, obviously you're going to be using sconfig or something different. But Server Manager, anytime you have an instance of Windows Server installed, you need to use Server Manager to configure things like the computer name. If you're using Azure, you probably don't need to configure the Ethernet. That's probably configured for you. But if you need to go set a static IP, you can do that also, as well as installing Windows roles and features. So any role and feature that you want to install generally will be done through Windows Server Manager. Could be done through PowerShell. But I just wanted to make that clear to you because I know you had those questions on the forums earlier this week. So, all right, so I'm going to select Tools here in the top right-hand corner, and we're going to talk about how you start Active Directory. So there's a couple different ways. I'm logged directly into the domain controller, so I can start Active Directory by inside of Server Manager, selecting Tools and selecting Active Directory users and computers. There are other ways to connect to Active Directory, however. So if you install something called RSAT, let me go ahead and Google this. So there's something called RSAT, and that's the Remote Server Administration Toolset. And this allows you to install the group policy, Active Directory, and other Active Directory consoles directly on your computer. But they won't work. They're just consoles that allow you to connect to a domain controller. So I've installed it on this computer. So if I go here and I type in Active Directory, of course it brought it up on the other screen. But if I try to launch it, actually I can probably scroll down to Administrative Tools and find it that way so you guys can see it. Here we go. So here I have Active Directory, sites and services, users and computers, and the whole suite of tools. If I click on this, it's just saying that, I'm not joined to a domain, and I need to log in with a domain user account. Well, this computer is not on a domain, so what it's going to do is just open the console, and from here I need to right click and I need to change domain and join a domain controller. So you can remotely manage Active Directory with RSAT if you're on a domain joined computer. Now I'm not on a domain joined computer and I don't have access to a domain right now, so that's not an option for me. But I wanted you guys to be aware that you don't have to log into the domain controller, or that is any server with the ADDS server role installed, to access Active Directory. But easiest way to get to it, just go on your Active Directory domain controller, select Tools, and select Active Directory users and computers. All right, so I'm going to expand this and we're going to talk about some basic things here. Here in the top left, we have our domain, which is Active Directory, ad.serveracademy.com. Now, this is not reachable by the internet, but I used my domain serveracademy.com just kind of as a signifier, an indicator that it's part of my domain. AD is just to make it a subdomain so that it lets me know that it's the Active Directory domain for my serveracademy.com website. And this is, again, inside of the IT labs at serveracademy.com. So this isn't a production network or anything like that. So you can really come in here. You can do silly things like, try and delete everything in Active Directory and see what happens. And if you break everything, you just revert the lab. And then, you just click up here, click close. And then you go back here and just relaunch the lab and you'd have everything back again. Let me check on the comments real quick because I'm getting some questions. Someone is saying, how much is this course? This isn't a course. Serveracademy.com is a membership platform where you'll get access to these courses. And it's just, you get a free trial. So if you want to try it, you can try it for 7 days for free. And then if you don't like it, you can cancel. After the 7-day free trial, it's $37 a month. Okay, so we have our domain, ad.serveracademy.com, and then we have this list of objects below this. We have containers, and we have organizational units, and we have this built-in type. So mainly what I'm going to talk about right now are the difference between containers and organizational units. So this is important because a lot of you guys were asking about group policy, and this is a big important thing that you need to understand. You can't really talk about Active Directory without getting into group policy. Usually Active Directory is part 1, group policy is part 2. But the main difference is a container is a default object that generally comes with Active Directory, and an organizational unit is something that you're going to be creating most of the time, except for this domain controller's organizational unit. But it's something you'll be creating that you can apply group policy to. So right here we have the domain controller's organizational unit. Now this will have a group policy object already applied to the organizational unit. And when you're making your security policies and different configurations in group policy, they cannot be applied to a container. So we have this users container. You really wouldn't want to start putting your domain users inside of this container. And I'll give you an example. And since there was a lot of interest in group policy, I'm going to change this up a little bit. Let's open tools and we're going to go to group policy management. And I see a lot of you guys on my platform are opening the lab right now. So you guys will be able to catch up. You guys will have the same lab that I'm working on here. And I'm going to try and go slow. So here's a group policy management console. If I drag this open a little bit, if I can click on it, I don't know why I can't click on that. There we go. I can click on domains. We have our forest, Active Directory, or ad.serveracademy.com. Then we have domains. And then I see ad.serveracademy.com. That's essentially the same thing that I'm seeing here in Active Directory. If I expand this, I'll see the domain controller's organizational unit. You'll notice I don't see the user's container. I don't see the managed service account or foreign security principles or the computer's container or the built-in type of container in this list. All I see is the organizational unit domain controllers. And if I go inside of that, I can see that there's a group policy object that is linked to this organizational unit. So the main difference, one thing I want you guys to keep in mind, there's containers and then there's organizational units. And the main difference is that group policy objects link to organizational units and not containers, and definitely not to the built-in type. All right, so what we're gonna do, let me see what I wanted to start out at first. So yeah, I want to talk to you guys about, I want to show you how to create an organizational unit and why you'd want to do that. Well, the reason why is for the group policy, but you can structure your infrastructure in a way that would be logical with group policy so that the group policy objects flow in a certain direction in a way that you want. So what we're going to do is right click on the domain ad.serveracademy.com. We're going to select new and we're going to choose organizational unit. And from here, I'm going to give it a name. Now, this is a brand new domain and I don't have any organizational units except for domain controllers. So a lot of times what I see happening in the real world, there'll be an organizational unit with the same name as the domain, either Server Space Academy or just Server Academy. Could be Server Academy all lowercase. But you'll create like this root organizational unit, and then inside of that, you'll make your organizational units for domain computers, domain users, member servers, web servers, whatever the case may be. So I'm just going to call this Server Academy, and I'm going to click on OK. All right, so now I've got this organizational unit. From here, I'm going to make another organizational unit by right-clicking, and I'm going to choose New, and I'll select Organizational Unit, Dental Deletion. This prevents, just like it says, it keeps an admin from coming in and accidentally deleting the OU, which can be catastrophic in Active Directory. So it's a really good idea to keep that checked. And that'll come back into play in here just a second. So we're going to make another organizational unit under the Server Academy OU, and we're going to call this domain computers. And let's make one more, and we'll call it domain groups. All right, so now that we have these organizational units, let's make one more, and let's call it delete me, just so you understand how to delete organizational units. All right, so we have this delete me organizational unit. Maybe, you know, you decide for whatever reason you need to delete an OU. Well, you can right click on it and you can choose delete. If I can find it, there it is. And if I click on delete, it's gonna say, are you sure you want to delete the organization unit? This is something you gotta be really careful about. If you're working, first of all, if you're following along with my video on a production network, that's bad. You should not, you have to be very careful. You shouldn't be deleting organizational units in a production network. That's why I have the serveracademy.com IT labs. That you can basically use them as a staging environment. You're not going to blow up your production. But I'm going to go ahead and click yes. And it's safe for me to do this inside of this lab environment. And we're going to get this error, and it says, you don't have sufficient privileges to delete me. Or the object was protected from accidental deletion. You'll remember that we had that checkbox selected. So we can right click on the GPO or the OU and select properties. But we're not going to be able to find that option. If we go under General, Manage By, and Com, there's no way to turn off the accidental deletion. Well, the way that you do that, Active Directory is kind of, the engineers at Microsoft have kind of hidden this behind a couple layers to protect, you know, administrators and IT professionals and basically infrastructure on Windows from accidentally deleting OUs and causing problems in their network. So what we have to do is select View, and we need to turn on Advanced Features. Once we do that, it's going to refresh the page, and it almost looks like we're in a different location, but we're really not. I'm going to grab a drink of water real quick. Okay, cool. So we see a whole bunch of different things that we didn't have before, like lost and found, keys, program data, NTDS quotas, and so on. What we've done is just kind of like, you know, in Windows Explorer, how you can view hidden files. It's essentially the same thing. We're just turning on things we couldn't see before. We have the same organizational units. If I go down here, I have domain controllers and the Server Academy OU that we created. If I double click on this, I see the delete me. Now, if I right click on this and hit properties, all of a sudden we have a whole bunch of more tabs. And we can go to Manage By, we can go to Objects, Security, and then we have the same other ones, Com Plus, and then we have Attribute Editor, which we can view all the attributes of this organizational unit. So what we're going to do is go to Object and uncheck the checkbox Protect from Accidental Deletion. Now I'm going to click Apply and click OK. Now when I right click on this and I say delete, it's going to give me the same pop-up. Are you sure you want to do it? I'm going to say yes. And now I have deleted the organizational unit. From this point, I'm going to go ahead and just click up here on View and turn off Advanced Features so that I'm not going to be messing anything else up or get confused. All right, so now we're back to our normal view. We have Active Directory, and we have our 3 OUs that we wanted to have before. All right, so now some more basics we need to get out of the way, how you create Active Directory users. I'm going to go inside of this domain users OU, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say New User. Okay, and this allows us to configure the user information that we want to make for this new user. And I'm going to call it Paul, and I'll just give my name Paul Hill. And for the user logon name, this is going to be the username that they're going to type in when they're logging into the server. So I'm going to say paul.hill. And now I'm going to click next. And if you want, you can add your initial here. You don't have to. Pretty much all of this is optional, but you wouldn't want to create a user without a first and last name. And then we need to type in a password. Now, in my lab environments, I like to use the same password for every account. Never do that in production. It's a terrible idea. But if you click here, it'll type in the password for me. I'll do the same thing here. And here we have a couple options. We can make the user change their password at the next logon. Okay, hold on a second. I'm getting a message on YouTube. Can you guys still hear me okay? I need to double check. And awesome. Thanks, Kennedy. I'm glad you're liking the platform. That's awesome. I just need to check, is everything working still good on YouTube? I just got some kind of pop-up saying there's a keyframe sequence. I don't know. Everything's still good? All right, we're gonna go, okay, cool. All right, so we can force them to change a password at next logon. That means when I go to log in as this new user, and I type in the password that I just created right here, it's gonna say, hey, before you finish logging in, you need to make a new password. This is useful when you have new hires who are coming into your office and you want to create a password, and maybe you use like a password one, which is not a good idea, but you use some kind of temporary password that you don't want them to keep using, you can force them to change it as soon as they log in with this checkbox. All right, we can set the user cannot change password. This is a bad security practice. You shouldn't use this. Again, it forces them so that they don't have, or it removes the requirement that they change their password. And then we have password never expires. That unchecks this checkbox. That means, they never have to worry about the password expiring. It's useful for service accounts, but again, it's a bad security practice. So I'm going to uncheck that, recheck this one. And then we have account is disabled. And this kind of goes back to the same scenario of this top one where we have a new hire. Maybe he's starting next Tuesday or next Monday. And you want to create the account right now. Well, you don't want that account to be accessible by maybe a hacker or someone like that until the user is here. So you want the account, let's say for example, you use the same password one, and you hand that out to all new hires. Well, say somebody quits or a disgruntled employee decides that, hey, I'm going to gain access to their network, and I know that somebody's starting on Monday, and I know they use password one. So on Saturday, I'm going to go to this account. I'm going to type in his first name and his last name, and I'm going to use password one and log in and gain access to the systems. That would be bad. So we can use this account is disabled to keep the account. Yes, it's created, but it cannot be used until we go back and enable the account. So that's not necessary in this case. I'm just going to uncheck that, and we'll click next. And now we have this last message. We can click on finish, just kind of an overview of the user. Now we can right click and we can select properties, and we can view all the properties of the user. So we can enter in more information like the description, their office, email address, what groups they're a member of. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, and other things like their organization, telephone number. And a lot of these things will tie into third-party apps if you have them in your domain. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and switch over to my Windows 10 workstation, and we're going to test out that new user account that I just created. So I click here on the right-hand side to the Windows 10 workstation. I'm going to hit Control-Alt-Delete. And I'm going to select other user, and we're going to type in that username that we just created, which is paul.hill, and that password. So I'm clicking that, and I'm going to hit go. And here's the message that says user's password must be changed before logging in. And if you remember, that was the first checkbox where we said force user to change their password at next login. So we'll go ahead and click OK. Now we need to create a new password. So I'm just going to hit this and type in 2, just add a 2 at the end. So password and then 2, and then I'll hit the next arrow. And now it's going to allow me to log in, and I'll get access to this computer. It's just saying it's been changed. So I'm going to get access to this computer as the domain user paul.hill. So people are asking, is on-premises Active Directory deployments worth it? As everyone's talking about cloud. Well, it really depends. It really depends on if you already have hardware, if the size of your company, and do you provide other IT services. So if you're a startup, I would not recommend purchasing server hardware and setting up a data center. You got to pay for cooling, you got electrical issues, you got to worry about backups. Much easier to host everything in Azure or AWS, and you can scale as needed. If you need a second domain controller, you can spin it up. If you don't need the second domain controller, you can turn it back off, and you can save money. So it's a lot easier to kind of grow and shrink, which is important. If you spend $100,000 in IT equipment setting up an data center, and then all of a sudden you don't need it, like what do you do with all that IT infrastructure? So that's where the cloud is really a good way to go. Whether you have the cloud or not, though, you're still going to have to know how to log in and configure Windows Server. You might be using Azure Active Directory. If you're on AWS, though, you're going to have to configure Windows Server, install Active Directory, and things like that. Cool. All right, so let me just read through the comments, see if we got anything else. I'm going to grab a drink. Just wait for this VM to log in. All right, so this thing is going to create the profile for the first time and all that, so we don't need to necessarily wait on that. Okay, so is there an easier way to check what security group does when the names aren't chosen well? That's a good question. How would you do that? I don't... Because I'm assuming by what it does, you're wanting to know what kind of group policies apply to that security group. Is that what you're asking? Because it's possible the security group doesn't do anything. So the first thing that comes to mind with that question is using something called group policy modeling. And if you go to Group Policy Management Console, you can right click and you can say Group Policy Modeling Wizard. And you can choose what domain controller you want to use. And you can select what user. So let's say for user information, you'll search paul.hill. Okay. And let's see, let's click default first site name. Next. Click next. Okay, now we have security groups. So what you can do is add your poorly named security groups here. Well, it's, for example, I haven't created any yet, but say we have domain admins. If I click on check names, I click OK. I could remove domain users if I wanted to. You can't remove these two, but then I could check and I could see what kind of group policy is going to be applied to this user. So I think that would probably be your best bet as far as seeing like what settings are applied. So here's all the settings that are applied based on this group. So here's applied GPOs. If I can get it to scroll up, it's not one to load yet. But yeah, group policy might be a good option. Also, group policy results could be good. It's essentially, it's the similar kind of idea, but I would have to go down that route or just go into group policy. Yeah, go into group policy and see where your GPOs are being linked and if they're being linked to the groups that you're trying to figure out or learn about. Yeah, definitely group policy results here or group policy modeling is the way that I would go down that road. And there also might be a way to do it in PowerShell that might be more efficient. But you know, that's a whole nother topic. So, okay, so if I go back to my Windows 10 VM, I got, let's see, I'm logged in as paul.hill, right? So if I right click here on the taskbar, of course, it's taking its good old time, first time login. Click on Task Manager. And if I go to more details and users, I can see that I'm logged in as paul.hill, the new user account that we just created. Okay, so the next most common thing you're going to have to do with user accounts, this is like the number one thing. You're going to have to reset passwords, right? So if you right click on the user, you can select reset password, and it's pretty straightforward. We type in the new password that we want. And then whether or not we want the user to change the password at next logon, and then we can unlock the user account. And say they try to log in 3 or 4 times, they failed, and maybe you have policies where the accounts lock out automatically. You can unlock the account by selecting this checkbox. Of course, it tells you whether or not the accounts are locked out. Right here at the bottom says mine's unlocked. But so if I want to change it to password instead of just the password 2, I can do that and click OK. Now to log into Windows 10, I'm going to need to type in the new password that I just set in Active Directory. That's not half the battle. Half the battle is finding the user account because you might work in an environment that has 50,000, 100,000 users, and you can't just select the OU and browse through all those users and find them. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on this search button up here that says Find Objects in Active Directory. Now here, the first thing you want to do is make sure you're searching in the correct domain. You can search in a specific OU, but a lot of times you won't be in the correct OU, so you might be under like maybe domain controllers or something. If you hit search, it's going to default to search for users, contacts, and groups in domain controllers, which is not going to turn anything up. If I type in paul.hill and I press enter, I'm not going to find anything, right? So I either need to select entire directory or Active Directory or ad.serveracademy.com. So I'll find it this way, and if I do entire directory, I'll find it that way. Difference between these two is if you have, maybe I had ad.serveracademy.com and I had staging.serveracademy.com and production.serveracademy.com. I had all these domains listed. Instead of having to search through each of those, I could just select entire directory and it'll find everything. So now from here, I can right click, say reset password, and I can type in the new password and do it just as easily that way. Okay, so let's see here. Let's talk about, okay, now let me check out where I am. So let's see, we're about 30 minutes in and I'm about halfway done. Let's talk about disabling user account. Well, before we do that, let's talk about group membership. So someone was just asking about, they have, I guess, a lot of Active Directory groups and they're poorly named. That's a big pain and a big problem that hopefully nobody else has to deal with. But the way that you add and manage Active Directory users and groups, or groups rather, is by clicking on the user and going to the Member Of tab. This lists all the groups that this user is a member of. Right now, I'm a member of domain users. So what exactly does that mean? Domain users has a set of permissions that are valid on your Active Directory domain. Now, if I want this user to be an administrator on the domain, I need to click Add and I need to search for and add domain admins. And I can click check names, and it will correct the name and underscore it or underline it if I have the correct group, and I can click OK. And now I'm a member of domain admins. So you might be wondering how I find that name. I'm just going to go back and show you. If we go under users, let me expand this out. We have a list of all of our default Active Directory groups that are installed, because this is a fresh installation of group policy. I haven't really done anything other than install, a fresh installation of Active Directory. I haven't really done anything except for install and promote Active Directory as a domain controller. So we have, if we look under here, we have domain admins, and it gives a kind of a description, designated administrators of the domain. You could do more research online about what the domain admins group does, but it's basically God rights for your Active Directory domain. Only people who should have the access, only someone who you would trust your entire, like basically the keys to the kingdom, that's what you're giving people when you give them domain admin permissions. So this is not something you should hand out lightly. In fact, if somebody doesn't have a specific need to log into a domain controller and make changes, maybe access other people's data, if you don't trust them to do that, they should not have the domain admin's membership role. So another way we can check group membership is by double clicking on one of these roles. Like, let's go for domain users. If I double click on this, the first thing I'm going to see here is the general tab, the description, and if I go to members, I can see who's a member of this domain. So here I have Paul Hill. If I double click on this, it'll open the Paul Hill user. And if I go to member of, I'll see domain users. So you can kind of like cross-check between the two groups that way. So let's go ahead and add, actually before we do that, let's attempt to log into the domain controller with my paul.hill account. So I'm going to go ahead and click here, and I'm going to say sign out. And then I'm going to log back in, or try to log back in with paul.hill. So I'll hit Control Delete. I'm going to select other user, and I'm going to say paul.hill. And I'll type in the password that we just changed, and I'll click go. And it says the sign-in method you're using or you're trying to use isn't allowed. For more information, contact your network administrator. Well, I'm the network administrator, so we have a problem here. And the problem is I did not grant the domain administrator membership to that user. So therefore, I'm not allowed to log into a domain controller because of the sensitive data that I would have access to. All right, so once this comes back up, what we're going to do is add the domain administrator membership to paul.hill, and then I will be a domain admin and I'll be able to log in. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to go to Tools, Active Directory, Users, and Computers. Someone is asking, how would you upgrade from 2012 R2 to 2019? You don't want to necessarily, you don't want to do an in-place upgrade if at all possible. What's better is to install 2019, promote it. Did you say a domain controller? Yeah, you did. So install Server 2019 on your network, promote it as a domain controller, and join it to your existing domain, then demote the 2012 domain controllers. So you probably want to do that, like install 2 2019 domain controllers, promote them, join them to the domain, and then demote your old 2012 R2 domain controllers. Okay? Hope that answers your question. So Kennedy's asking, does the profile feature work on properties? I'm not sure what you mean by feature work on properties. Maybe you could clarify that. Yeah, and PA was saying that you can use group policy result / r scope computer / user. You can actually just type in gp result / r. If you run it as administrator, it'll already give you the scope for computer and user, and you can do that. But the problem is, well, not the problem, but you'll need to log in as the as a user who has those memberships to see exactly what is going on. Group policy modeling allows you to run that GP result, or not group, I'm sorry, it was called, let me go back, I'm forgetting the name of it now. Let's see, group policy management. There is a tool in here that allows you to do that. Yeah, group policy results. This is the same thing, except you don't have to log in as a user who has the membership you're trying to test, okay? So that's a little tip that I don't think a lot of people are aware about. All right, so let's go back here. Let's just click on the domain and click on search. And we're just going to search paul.hill. If I can click on the text box here. And we're going to double click on my user. And let's go to member of. And we're going to add the domain admin's role. Or membership, rather. So now I'll hit apply, hit OK. And let's go ahead and try and sign back in with that membership. So I'm hitting sign out. Yeah, and that honestly it's the safest way because imagine you try to upgrade and play. I mean, well, first of all, I've never had a Microsoft upgrade at work without issues. I've never had it. There's always been something wrong after an in-place upgrade. So my preference, my personal preference is always to build a new server that's completely separate. Join it to the network, join it to the domain, promote it, and then if something goes wrong with it, it's just another domain controller. I mean, it's not the greatest thing, but if something goes wrong, Active Directory doesn't work, then you just turn it off, and it's not too much damage done. So let's go ahead and hit Control Delete, and other users, we're going to say Paul.Hill. So same user account, let's type in the password, and we'll hit Go. And so now it's actually letting me log in because I have the group membership, or the membership of domain administrators. So memberships are extremely important in Active Directory. That's how you control access to your domain. That's how you're going to do things like if you want to create a development folder and you only want to have the developers have access, you could create a developers Active Directory group, and you could assign those permissions and group policies so only they have access to the file share. And you know what? Since we had some questions on group policy, I can probably go ahead and do that now. Let me know if you guys are interested in that. If not, we're going to move on to, well, actually, while I'm waiting on it, we can just do disabling user accounts real quick. So let's go to Active Directory users and computers. Okay, so Corey's asking, how do you add another column to the user? Let me see if I can understand what you're talking about by another column. Oops, let's type in Paul.Hill. And also, by the way, you don't have to search for the username. You can do first name, you can do last name. I think you can do a combination of both, Paul Hill. So you don't have to search by just username. Corey, can you tell me exactly what you mean by add another column to the user? Maybe you mean in this search here? I'm not aware of a way that you can do that. You can scroll to the right, but if you're talking about the search, I actually don't know. That's a good question. Yeah, I think it only gives you these 3 options. If you want more, then what you should do is open PowerShell. If it'll come up. Let me pull this up here. And you should say get dash AD user dash filter, and we can just filter for star. I think this will work. I haven't done this in a while. Yeah, and this will list more information. You can also select multiple properties if you want. So I think we can do property start also in addition to, oops. Let me get into the right window. We can also do properties. If I hit tab, it'll autocomplete and say star, and it's going to give out a ton of information. But check this out. If we pipe that to OGV or outgrid view, it's going to open this list. And here we have tons and tons of columns that we can search through. So this is all the information for my users. And if in the filter, I type in Paul.Hill, guess what? It filters out to my specific user. So here's the CN is Paul Hill. This is my user count, and this is all of my information. So if you want more columns, this is one way to do it. You can also, instead of doing property star, you could pick specific properties that you wanted that might be more useful. Like say you wanted to grab, like let's pick something out of here. Let's see, what would be something that you want to be? Let's see, last login date. So if we want to grab that, we could paste that down here. So we're doing get, let me zoom in so you guys can see what I'm doing. I don't know how easy that is to see. How do I don't know if I can send a control zoom. Let me see, properties. Let's go to font. Let's try like this. Oh, of course it's not. Okay, cool, it worked. Yeah, so I have get AD user filter and then properties, let's say last logon date, and I pipe that to OGV. What that's going to do is give me less results, but if I wanted the last logon date, it's listed right here. So I hope that answers your question about adding more common columns to the user results. So if you want to get results, there's other ways to do it, and probably better ways than using, the Active Directory console. We can also do export CSV. I'm hitting tab and it's trying to autocomplete. And we could do dash path. And I think if I just call this users.csv, press enter. Now if I type in dir, I should have this users.csv listed here. Now if I go to C, under this directory here, C users, and paul.hill, I should have users.csv. Now I don't have Excel installed, but if I had Excel, I would be able to open this in a spreadsheet program and look at it this way. So this may also be useful to you if you're trying to get user information in a spreadsheet. I don't know, hope you guys like that little tip. Okay, I'm getting majorly sidetracked. All of that stuff is inside of the courses that we offer at Server Academy. So I think you'll find more information about that in Module 2, Active Directory and Identity. Also, a lot of this is covered in Module 7 for PowerShell. So you guys can get chances to work on that, and then that in combination with the labs that we have. By the way, for you guys that don't know, I just updated this today. If you want to go to the labs, you can search now. So if you want an SCCM lab, you can pull that up. If you want PowerShell specific, you can get that. Same for DNS. So you can now search for your labs and just launch them directly from here, as well as being inside of the courses. Just wanted to make that announcement because I don't think I've told anyone. I did that a couple hours ago, but just so everybody knows. All right, so I'm way behind on chat. Let's see. So someone's asking if I started on the Azure course. I have not, but I'm planning on doing it in the next couple weeks. So that's coming soon. And by the way, for those that voted on that survey that I sent out, thank you for doing that. Azure was the clear winner. So we'll be making more courses out of that list. I think MDT is going to be created. Me and Robert Hill will be coming together to create that course for you. But yeah, Azure will definitely be coming, as well as some of the other ones. So just keep your eyes out for that. Janice is asking how you enable all users to log in via remote desktop. That is a group policy configuration. I'm going to write that down, Janice, and I'm going to do that in the next live stream because I'm already at 40 minutes and I still have a couple more things to go through. So if you will make it, it will be on September. It'll be 2 weeks from today, September. Oh no, it's going to be October 2nd. Oh, by the way, Star Wars, the new Star Wars game comes out on that day. So, man, I don't know. Wow, I guess I'm gonna have to not play Star Wars for a couple hours. I was planning on playing that game all day. Yeah, but I'll do that on October 2nd. Okay. But I have that saved in my notes, so I won't forget you. Okay, let me figure out where I am. We were going to talk about disabling user accounts. So before I do this, since I'm logged into paul.hill, what I'm going to do is just create another user account really quick. We go to domain users. Also, I would never store domain users in the same organizational unit as domain admins. I would make a new OU called domain admins, and I would put them in their own OU. This is because I'm probably going to be making group policy settings, and I just dragged and dropped that over here. You can also right click and choose move, and you can choose where you want it to be. So you could do it like domain. This is a safer way to do it. Domain admins hit OK. But a lot of times you might be setting up specific group policy objects in the organizational unit where domain admins are located. So having your regular users that are only going to be logging into Windows and they're only going to be clients using your domain, you don't want them in the same OU as your domain administrators. It's just not a good practice. Okay, so let's make a new domain user. And we're going to call him Joe Friday. I think that was the name of the detective on Dragnet, if you guys remember that, Joe Friday. So Joe.Friday, we're going to give him the same password because it's a lab environment. I'm going to say does not need to change their password. We'll click next. So now I can log in as this user account just like I did to paul.hill. But if I right click on this user, I can select disable account. And it says Joe Friday has been disabled. Now we can see a little down arrow here on the left-hand side. In most domains, you want to have an organizational unit called disabled users. And this is where you put the people that you haven't deleted yet, but you're probably going to delete at some point. So what I do is right click, select move, and we go under Server Academy and we select disabled users. If I hit OK, that will move the user out of here. We would assign a group policy object that denies the right to log in to any computer in your domain, and we can talk about that. I'm going to add that actually here. So we're going to deny login right for disabled users OU. We'll cover that in the next live streaming group policy. But we create a group policy object, attach it here. And the reason why you would do that, you'll be surprised how many users are supposed to be disabled, but for whatever reason they accidentally got re-enabled or the administrator just forgot to disable the user account. And now you just have a user account with a password that can access your domain that should not be able to do it. So we create this disabled users OU, and when we move users in that OU, they should be disabled. So if another admin comes through and they see, hey, I see this account disabled users OU, but it's not disabled, you can go ahead and disable it. If you don't see that, you also have the group policy object that's going to deny the right to log in or use any kind of resources in your domain. So you're kind of protected a lot more than if you're just, have one big container, one big organizational unit, and you're just trying to, disable user accounts as you need to. Okay, so if I go here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and log in as Joe Friday and just show you guys what happens. So I'm at Windows 10, I'm going to hit Control-Delete. I'm going to select Other User, and we'll type in joe.friday. And I'm going to type in the password. And it says, your account has been disabled. Please see your system administrator. Yeah, if you see this at work, it's bad news. You probably got fired. Hope not, but that's never a good thing to see when you're trying to log in at work. So someone's asking what the best scheme or the best structure for Active Directory is. Yeah, I try to avoid the default organizational units for everything except for the domain controllers. I think leaving your domain controllers in the default OU is fine. There may be reasons why you don't want to do that I'm not aware of, but I've never encountered any issues doing that. But in most cases, I'll create, and for me, in the environments that I've worked in, we've all done the same thing. We create an organizational unit under the domain that has the same name as the domain, so Server Academy, and then we create as much separation as we need. So you can kind of see, like I started out with domain users, domain computers, and I think it was domain groups. But as I was going, I realized I needed a disabled users OU. I needed to have domain admins and things like that. So it's going to change depending on the needs of your network. But I would at least have this set of organizational units here. If you're giving services, maybe your software is a service company and you have different tiers, you might create different organizational units for the different tiers that your software adds or offers. So just really depends. But this is kind of the base that I would build. If someone asked me to come build infrastructure or Active Directory infrastructure for them, regardless of whether it's on premises or if it's Azure Active Directory, this is what I would start with. Okay. All right. So these, I'm not sure how I pronounce your name. Himenshu? I think I got it right. He's asking, once the account is disabled, after how many days or weeks would the company delete it? I've seen places where it's 90 days. I've seen companies where they never delete it and they just disable it. If you have a high amount of users, that is 50,000 or more users, you may want to start deleting disabled user accounts. But if you have a smaller network, it's less than 1,000, less than 5,000, you really don't have to. This is something though that it doesn't hurt to leave the disabled user there if you don't have a bunch. But you can automate this with PowerShell. You can set up a scheduled task to run the get-ad user command, and you can filter it to say if the user is disabled and it's been 90 days, then go ahead and delete their account. You can also write PowerShell scripts to disable any user account that is in the disabled users OU. And I think I have that inside of the group. I don't know if that's in the group policy or the PowerShell, but I do have a lesson on how to do that. But that's, any way you can automate things, deleting user accounts you don't need anymore, disabling user accounts. Maybe I think also in the same lecture, we show how to move user accounts to the disabled users OU. So say I come here and I disable Joe Friday, but I forgot to move them. You can write PowerShell scripts to move that account to the disabled user OU for you, so you don't have to worry about doing that. And any way you can automate tasks, that is, it saves man time, or it saves man hours, and it saves your company money. It saves you time, saves you money. So it's a good thing to do. So Perry's asking what an object relay is. I'm not sure what you mean by object relay. You have to give me some context, I think. Is there any other questions in the chat? We're almost at 50 minutes, so I'm gonna have to hop off soon. I wanted to get creating file shares and joining computers to the domain, but we're not gonna have time. So I think we're actually gonna end up wrapping it up about here. One thing I want to point out is that we have Let me get the link for you guys. You guys don't want to see this. If you go to serveracademy.com/YouTube, right there. If you guys go to that link, you can get, that's how you can start a free trial and get access to everything that I've been showing you, all these IT labs. It's going to take you to a page where you'll enter your billing info, but you're not going to be charged for 7 days. It's a 7-day free trial, and you can just sign up and just use the labs for today or rewatch the live stream from today. And then once you're done with that, you can cancel. That's totally cool. But hopefully you'll sign up and you'll like it and you'll want to stay on as a member. But yeah, if you click that, you'll come to this page and you can try out the platform for free. You'll get access to our discourse, which is the community tab, the live hangouts, which we regularly run these live hangouts every other week. Usually it's only internal. I don't host it on YouTube, but I decided to do it today. Hopefully you guys on YouTube got some good value out of this. But again, if you like this kind of stuff, you should really consider joining at least the free trial. Get access to all of our courses. You're gonna get access to all the labs. You get access to me to ask me questions, as well as interact in the community with other students and things like that. So I think that's going to wrap it up today. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to switch over and just answer questions if you guys have any. And I think you guys can see my husky there on the left-hand side. He's hanging out. Cool, man. I'm glad to hear that you guys have been enjoying it. All right, so... Oh, okay. So Perry, it's an object. What I was moving was a user between organizational units, and it's not an object relay, organizational unit. I know I'm talking kind of fast. It's probably not helping. But yeah, I was moving a user from one organizational unit to another, and that's important because group policy, you will attach specific policies. Could be security policy, could be a desktop wallpaper, could be software that gets automatically installed, but you'll apply these policies to specific OUs. So if your user's in the wrong organizational unit, then they're going to get the wrong policies, and that can be really bad if you're granting permissions that they don't need to have or they shouldn't have. Someone's asking the best way to back up your domain controller. The free option you have is Windows Server Backup. And that's a server feature that you can install, and you can take a system state backup. I think I have actually a lab on this if you want to practice it. Windows backup. Let's see, is it back? Yeah, Windows Server Backup. If you join, sign up for the free trial, run this lab. It's also inside of this course, Active Directory. I show how to back up your Active Directory server. But if you run this lab, you'll be able to actually create a backup and I think restore it, I think is how it works. But yeah, you need to run a system state backup. I don't know if this is the best way, but it's the free way that's included with Windows Server. Someone asked about a link to today's video. I will email that out at the end of the video today, and then also it'll be on YouTube. Yes, we do offer a certificate of completion. You have to complete all the material. It's about 40 hours. It takes longer than 40 hours to get through everything, but that's the requirements, and then I review everything that you've done, and then I award the certificate. Let's see. Oh yeah, man. Adam, awesome, man. Thanks for joining. That's awesome. Terraform and PowerShell, which one would be the best with Azure AD? You have to use both. If you're using Terraform to bring up your infrastructure, you're probably going to be wanting to implement with PowerShell also to automate other things, right? You wouldn't use Terraform to create Active Directory user accounts, but you would use PowerShell to do that. So you should use both. When do one need to create an OU in Active Directory? Just depends on the infrastructure that you have. Like you saw that I was disabling user accounts, and I realized, hey, I need to make a disabled users organizational unit, so I went ahead and did that. So it's kind of as needed basis, but I would start out with the same structure that I was showing you earlier. DJ Ryan has an interview Friday. That's awesome. And why is VMware needed so much? They say I need knowledge in it. VMware is a virtualization technology. That's actually what some of my labs are hosted on. But virtualization tech, they all do the same thing. So if you understand Hyper-V, you're going to have a different interface with VMware, but you're going to be able to do the same kind of things. So you can download VMware ESXi for free if you go to google.com. And if you download ESXi, if you Google ESXi, you can download that and you can install it on an extra computer if you have it. I might actually set up, I have some VMware stuff in here. I have a CentOS lab. This is actually run on VMware, but you don't get access to the backend. So maybe I could add a lab for you for ESXi. Yeah, shoot me an email if you want that, or if you sign up and you want access to the lab, I can do that for you. And congrats on the interview, man. I hope you kill it. Hey, Andre. Good to see you, man. Andre is a regular student at Server Academy. He's always, I'm always working with him. He's super, super diligent, super hardworking. He's doing great in the platform. Yeah, and we're, Andre, we will be bringing Azure to the platform soon. That's definitely the plan. Someone's asking, what's the difference between deactivation and disabling an account? You don't deactivate accounts in Active Directory, you only disable them. So I would say it's the same thing, probably just a different term. Unless you meant deleting. Deleting is the account's gone, you're not going to recover it. So disable the account first, wait 90 days, then if you know you don't need it, then come back and delete it. Cool, DJ Ryan. My email is paul@serveracademy.com. Horizon VDIs, that's different. That's virtual desktop infrastructure. That allows you to use basically a desktop computer from almost anywhere in the world, right? Anywhere you have an internet connection, you can log into your desktop infrastructure. It's a little bit different, but it is virtualization, so same kind of idea. But you're virtualizing desktops, you're not virtualizing servers like what we're doing here. This is a virtual machine that I'm running here in the background that you guys were looking at, which I realized just now you guys can't see my screen, but so you can sign up by going to serveracademy.com/YouTube. I'm going to stick this on the screen so you guys can see it. If you guys go to this link, you guys can get access and you can practice what we were doing today. Let me share my screen here. Desktop with webcam. serveracademy.com/YouTube. That is how you're going to get access to what I was working on today. And for the Server Academy members, I'm not going to show that. You guys already know. You're already members on the platform, so you guys don't need to see that. So for CEUs, you can use them. I forget what the credit hours are, but there's 40 hours in our platform. So I think I don't know if that's 40 CEUs. I don't remember. But if you go on CompTIA, you will see how many CEUs per hour you get, and we run 40 hours. So it'll say on your certificate as well how many hours that you actually did to get the completion. Let me see if I can pull up an example certificate. I think I have one. Let me see if I can find that. Just so you guys can see what it looks like. Here's an example. Okay, so this is an example that I'm pulling from my images folder. It has an old number. It has 30 hours, but the new ones will show 40 hours. So this is something that we had on our website that's old. But down here, it's going to say 40 hours, not 30. It tells you, it gives you a certificate ID. So if somebody needs the verified certificate, they can do that. They can do that with us. And then it has an expiration date. Our certs are good for 5 years. And then it just has the title of what you did. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So you get that when you reach under, let me go to the courses page here. I'm just going to go ahead and bring this up. So when you reach 100% up here, this button that says request certificate will turn green. You can click that and you can get your certificate. After, it's not an automated process. I go through and I look at what you've done. I review your progress and then I issue the certificate. People are asking if companies recognize my certificate. I am not accredited. So you're not going to go, I'm not even sure how to describe that. Yes, companies recognize my certificate. Yes, they do ask for the curriculum. I show them the curriculum and they see what you guys have gone through, which you can also see that if you go to serveracademy.com/curriculum, you guys can see what it looks like. This is the curriculum that outlines all of the lessons that you're going to go through, all the different tasks. We have file systems, storage allocation units. If I scroll down, it's a lot of stuff, right? But if they want to know more about the certificate that you have and what you've learned, we can provide them with this certificate and this curriculum, and they can review all of it. So this is PowerShell arrays, variable challenge, while loops. I think we get down to SCCM after that. And then we have like a virtualization section, operating system deployment, endpoint protection. I mean, it's a long list. But, if there's any question or they want to ask about what you've been learning, you can give them the certificate, give them the curriculum, and that speaks for itself. Okay, let's see what else. So someone's asking what the price is. It's a free 7-day trial, so you guys don't have to pay anything. You can get access, and you get access to everything. You get access to all of the courses. You literally everything that I just used in this webinar and more, because you guys didn't get to see the courses. But you guys will have access to all of this material, all 9 modules. It's not restricted at all. You have access to all the labs listed here. You're gonna have access to the community, which you can sign up to without needing to be a paying member. But you get access to everything, all the live hangouts, just by signing up to the free trial. So after that, if you guys decide you want to stay, it's $37 a month. But it's free. You can try it out for free. I mean everyone should try it. At least try it. And if you don't like it, then tell me what you don't like, because I'm trying to make it better. Someone's asking, how do you pull the last logs if there's more than one domain controller? You want to have, if you have a big network, you want to have a log server. Let's see, I've used lately I'm using Splunk, but there's other, I've used like GFI Events Manager. I think there's a free one. I think it's Graylog. Free, let me search this. Free open source log, log event management software or management tools. I'm pretty sure the one that I used was Graylog. There's Logly. If you search for this, you're gonna find tons of results. So let me just put that over here. Yeah, top 7 free log management tools. You want to have some kind of log management software. It's great because if one of your server crashes, you still have the logs because it's pulling logs off of the server. So DJ Ryan, I'm rusty, so your video's been helping me. That's awesome. Oh, okay. Yeah, so I don't have training on VMware Horizon. I don't have any training on VDIs and things like that. So you'll need to go somewhere else to get VDI specific training. My training is all on Windows Server. It's on Hyper-V, PowerShell, everything that's listed here, right here, and inside of the curriculum URL that I just showed you guys. Installing, configuring Windows Server, Active Directory, identity, group policy, DNS, DHCP, WSUS, PowerShell, SCCM, and then I have like on-premises and cloud virtualization. Maybe I can bring VMware Horizon to this module 9 that's on virtualization, but right now there's not like a lot of demand for it, so I don't think it's really an in-demand topic. So I'm kind of focusing on Azure because Azure is like one of the top ones that everybody wants. Cool. So I want to do more live streams on YouTube, even though I try to keep my technical training to the members. Today was an exception. I wanted to bring it out to everybody so that you guys could get access to it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys liked it. If you guys liked it, hit the like button, hit subscribe. You probably already are subscribed if you joined the webinar, but it helps me out. Even if you don't pay and join the platform, just having your subscription, having your likes on the video really helps me out a lot. But I want to do like more hangouts. I was thinking about just even hanging out while I'm gaming or something like that. I could answer questions. I don't know. I don't know if you guys would like that or not, but it's something I'm thinking about doing. Awesome. I'm glad you guys liked it. I've been meaning to make a new video, and I still might do it. DJ Ryan's asking if I am a sysadmin. I am a senior systems administrator currently working. Most of my work is on infrastructure in AWS, like Windows, CentOS. So I run Server Academy. I don't pay myself anything from Server Academy. I put all the money back into the platform because I'm trying to make it into something worthwhile. But I do work full-time as a senior systems administrator, and then I've been using, like, I started it with my own money, and now the company pays for itself, and I pay my employees and things like that. But I'm still working in the field, and that's one thing that makes me different from other instructors is that I'm not a full-time instructor. So I'm out there, like, I go out and I see what companies are doing. I work for a SaaS, software as a service company, so I'm seeing like what the best trends are, the best practices, and I'm bringing them back and I'm adding them to the platform. So that's definitely one thing that makes me different than anyone else who's offering training. I'm not a solely just a trainer. I'm actually out in the field. Yeah, so I am going to be bringing Azure to the platform, definitely. Michael's asking about an AWS tutorial. Yes, that is in the plans. I'm actually much more comfortable with AWS than I am in Azure. But Azure has been so popular, and plus I'm already teaching almost the whole Microsoft suite or the major core components of Microsoft infrastructure. I figured I would go with Azure or Azure, however you guys want to pronounce it. But yeah, I'm thinking about doing AWS. Maybe like, I don't know, cover like just the solutions architect, just real high level stuff. But yeah, it's definitely on my mind. All right, Corey, thanks for hanging out, man. I will be talking to you later. Oh, cool. Server Plus, that's a good cert to get. Another good cert to get is Security Plus. So that should be the next one on your list. Also, Corey, I responded to you on the discussion board, so I don't know if you saw that. I don't know if you actually responded. Hopefully I didn't miss your response, but I just wanted you to know that I did respond to that. And have a good night. I do have a section on installing and managing Windows Server Core. Generally, what you're going to want to do, and by PowerShell Core, that's what you get when you install Server Core. You're going to be managing everything through the PowerShell Core instance. So if we go to Labs and I go to Server Core, if I search Server Core, if I can type it right, we have installing Server Core. This is installing the operating system, and then we have a lab for installing roles and features. Once you install Server Core and you get it connected to your network, you're pretty much going to be managing it from another server that has a GUI. So, there are differences in PowerShell, what's available in Server Core and the desktop experience, but you're going to be managing it through a GUI pretty much for the most part. The $37 is monthly. It's a monthly membership. Sure thing, Michael. Just checking on my phone now. I got all these messages. Hey, Archer. Come here. You want to say hi? Come here. Archer, come here. My dog is confused. I'm trying to get him to come say hi. Come here, buddy. Come here. Can you guys see him? You want to say hi? Come here, Archer. Come here. You want to say hi to everyone? No? Someone just... Yeah, he's distracted. There's other stuff going on. All right, guys. I think I'm going to head out. How long is the training? About 40 hours currently. And it's growing. All right, guys. I think that's going to be it for today. So thank you for coming and hanging out. And we will do another live stream in 2 weeks. But I'll talk to everyone later. Bye.